Check, 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 check. All right. Well, thanks for coming out tonight, all of you in the room and those of you online. Jake told me to look at this camera, but he may be going from different ones. So thanks for coming out to tonight. There's a couple things that we're going to try to accomplish here as we go through the night. The essence of the time is to talk about who we are, and where we're going. And as part of that, we're going to pull in the annual report, which is where we've been, and talk about that, pass those reports here, hopefully more briefly, and move into talking about where we are and what we see going on here. So we're going to start, though. I'd like to invite those who are going to read our philosophy of ministry. You can take your masks off. Come on up on the stage, pick a mic. One of you will have to take my mic. We're going to start reading who we are. And at Freshwater, we've been doing a lot of work over the last couple years and trying to implement this more and more. And it's our vision, it's our mission statement, our vision statement, our values, and our operating principles. And operating principles are like the we will not of who we are as a church. And we want to start with this because what we do now is we're reading this in our staff meetings every month. We're reading this in our elder meetings every month. And we're cycling through this to make sure that we're staying true to who we are. And it is making our decisions so clear. Like, this is who we are. That's not who we are. And so we want you as a body to know who we are and how that is informing where we're going here in the future. So why don't we start down here, and you guys can just listen in. It may be up on the screen as well if you want to watch onto that. But Nettie, can you just start with the top one there? And I'll...
Do I need to move this, or can you hear me?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, mission statement and why we exist. To glorify God by connecting to Him, connecting to His family, connecting to His mission.
The vision statement from Ezekiel 47, what we're striving for, to see disciples making disciples in which the presence of God flows through them into the world to bring transformation.
Values, how we live. This is how we should live in every moment of our lives. These values should describe our culture. Spirit-led, we seek and submit to the continuing ministry of the Holy Spirit. Authentic, we live openly and honestly before God and people. Relational, every person matters and has worth. And missional, we advance God's kingdom in all aspects of life.
The operating principles, our laws. The we will not, we shall, and we shall not in ranked order. First is freedom/healing. We will lead people to a place of freedom from the bondage of their past, addiction, sin, sickness, and fear. We will facilitate environments where people can find and maintain biblical, wholesome, spiritually, physically, emotionally, and relationally, and mentally.
Missions. We will provide regular opportunities for our people to be involved in missions. We will be involved in missions work locally, regionally, and globally. We are committed to releasing and sending people as God calls them.
Lifestyle of worship from Romans 12:1. We will provide environments where people can worship in the manifest presence of God, expectation without agenda, and we will worship God in spirit and in truth.
Leadership development. We will identify, develop, and empower new leaders across all generations. We will call current leaders towards continued growth and development. We will provide an environment for emerging leaders to gain experience and mentoring.
Authentic community. We will provide environments to lead new people from the front door into the family. We will provide opportunities for the Freshwater family to be invited into authenticity and transparency.
Serving. We will call people to a lifestyle of sacrificial service through love and obedience. overproduction.
Prayer. We will do everything through prayer, Philippians 4. We will teach, model, and create opportunities for people to pray earnestly, James 5. And we will emphasize big faith, Matthew 21.
Discipleship. We will be discipled. We will be disciple makers. We will teach, model, and create environments where disciples are making disciples. We will lead people in the pathway from conversion to glory, exploring Christ, growing in Christ, close to Christ, and Christ-centered.
Cultural relevance. We will pursue understanding the times and do what we need to do. 1 Chronicles 12:32. And we are committed to reaching the emerging generations. We will establish a model of ministry that is able to pivot quickly. We will not be bound by traditionalism.
We had hoped to have those up on the screen. Just to clarify as we're going forward, Jake, is any of this working? I just need to know, just kind of as a good point of reference. Is any of our PCO stuff working? It is? Well, it didn't there, so I just want to make sure. Like, it's not working out here, so I don't know whether it's glitched out there. Oh, that's a bummer. Do we got that fixed?
Doesn't matter now. They were only supposed to use those two mics. The outside mics weren't connected to the screen. So, we're good.
We love you online. You're probably looking at us going, yeah, you're not feeling the love right now. You should watch Jake back here. He's running like 4 computers at once, and he's running back and forth. And I think he's already blown out his t-shirt. So we are going to try to get this set up. Link, can you just let me know we're good to go here? Yeah, that's not what we wanted. We wanted the PCO. So I love working on this technology stuff. So what we need to go through is, if you guys can get up the annual report, that would be great. Okay. No, that's not the annual report. There we go. Is that in our annual report? Well, I can look. Let's see. That is not the first page of the annual report. So, this is why on Sunday mornings, when you guys marvel at how it all goes off smooth, there's like a team of about 7 people running all the technology. And so right now, Jake's back there, and we're trying to figure everything out. So it's a bit hectic. So give me a thumbs up, Jake, when we're ready to go with the annual report. We can do the chicken dance. Yeah. Well, this is the thing. I can start reading the annual report. There's 2 ways we can do the annual report according to Robert's Rules of Order. One is to read the annual report in its entirety, which you've had in your hands here the last 3 weeks. Or somebody can make a motion to adopt the annual report as submitted, and we will adopt that and move on. If somebody does make that motion, I'll entertain questions if you do have questions about the annual report, and then we will answer those questions to the best of our ability and then call for the vote, and then we would vote on it. So I'm going to start reading this unless there's a motion to adopt the report in its entirety. All right. Dave, thankfully, makes a motion to adopt the report in its entirety. Greg McCauley seconds it. We have a quorum in the room of members here, so all in favor say, oh, no, are there any questions about the annual report? So if you've got any questions right now online, we'll give you about 15, 20 seconds, 30 seconds to email, or call that number or text that number rather. Let us know your questions. And then for those of you who are members watching online, Norm, I see you. I know you're there. I see you. You can vote. I know there's some other people watching online as well. That's the annual report. I'd like to draw attention to the man with the nose and the mustache thing. And the kid, I'm not sure who that is. Don't even recognize him. Are there any texts coming through? Okay. Seeing as there's no questions coming in from our online crew or in the room.
They are about a minute behind us.
Oh, they're a minute?
They're
Oh.
just now catching up to all the mess we did.
That is so funny. I didn't know there'd be a lag. This is so awkward. We need elevator music or something here in between. So while you guys online, you're probably just catching up to, hey, if you've got a question. So we're going to wait here. This is so awkward. I did not. They're sending hugs to Jake. Thank you online. Thank you for all the affirmation to Jake. Okay. Yes, this is our TV timeout. That's actually what this was. We'll work on that next meeting. So apparently you guys are all caught up, and there's no text coming in for questions that you're seeing, Sean? Okay. Yeah, neither could we. All right, so if you're online and you're a member, text your aye or nay to this, but all in favor here in the room, say aye. Those opposed, say nay. Motion is unanimous, and we will adopt the report in addition to the votes that come in through the phone. I'm going to move on here to just where we're here, why we're here, this whole idea of refresh. As we think about where we are, we want to root it in our philosophy of ministry and specifically in our mission statement. We exist to glorify God by connecting up with Him, in with His family, and out to this world with His mission. And so as we look at where we are right now with Up, it's funny. I mean, it's almost been a year. It's coming up here. I don't know when we shut down our last service. I can't remember. I think it was actually April, the first week of April or something like that. Or was it before then? Was it in March? Yeah, March 16th. So that's crazy. And remember when we talked about we lost the Queen. Can we exist without the Queen? And the Queen being the large gathering of believers, right? And what would happen to the church if we couldn't get together? And how did that reshape how we viewed worship and connecting up with God? And here we are a year later, and part of me was wondering, well, what's going to happen? Like, what's going to happen to us? What's going to happen to all those who call Freshwater home? And what's interesting when we talked around, we just were like, well, wait a minute. And that's what led to that series we're talking about, the priesthood of Christ. Christ is in us, and we can worship Him. This is a blessing to gather at a larger group like this. It is a blessing, but we can still worship Him. And that's what we saw. We've seen over the past year stories and stories of men and women, students, parents, families, still pursuing God, growing in their faith, growing in their connection up this past year, and still seeking to worship Him. And we learned to do it in all kinds of different ways. We've learned to connect with Him online. We've learned to connect with Him out there in the lawn. We've learned to connect to Him now with masks on. And there's just all kinds of things that for us has been quite a story. And I think to some degree it's a test run. This pandemic's been a test run of how would the church do if we really got shut down with persecution. And it's really encouraging to see that the church is going to persevere. The endurance, the perseverance of the saints is a real thing. Like we hear about that, but it's not necessarily we have to go through that like we see in other countries. But seeing it this past year and people persevering in their walk has been so encouraging. And so in our up, we also saw even this last fall a number of people jumping into the freedom ministry, trying to go deeper, embracing that call to be sanctified, and wanting to go deeper into their walk with Christ, to clean the house, as it were. And we saw some amazing things, some amazing healings in the middle of that, where people were getting free of things, and there was physical manifestations of stuff that was happened and had happened to them in the past that was affecting them emotionally and physically and spiritually. And we saw so much freedom. So it's been a good year. As crazy as it sounds, our up, as we look at as a staff, is strong. The in, as we look at and evaluate in, which is connected to his family, we look at that and go, yeah, okay, Sunday morning changed, but what we saw happen with our community groups, trying to stay connected. It wasn't easy. I know some of them really struggled along because you got the Zoom and all that happened with, do you gather, don't you gather, and the comfortability of that over the last year. But we saw community groups still connecting and reaching out, giving. Our giving was strong. The youth ministry took so many hits of changing format, changing location, and even as we're coming to the year end, the youth ministry is really starting to gain traction again. We saw our children's ministry almost completely shut down over the summer because we're on the lawn, and then the midweek ministry of Trail Life and Gym started off, and all that. I won't steal Beth's thunder, but it was encouraging to see what was going on with that. And even Sunday morning, as we're coming into this year, we're seeing more and more kids starting to gather. Bible studies, discipleship classes, all of that is part of how we now view how the health is of our inn and how many people we would call this church home. We're no longer necessarily relying on Sunday morning for our number. We've broken free of that, and we're now measuring a whole bandwidth of things, as it were, to determine how we're doing healthy. Last June, I was listening to this podcast, and this national leader, he had somebody else on, and they were just talking about get ready for this year, because you're going to see transition happen. Because COVID is going to give people permission to just kind of step away because they're not there anymore, and they can make changes, and you're going to see people go that you're going to be shocked by, and you're going to see people come. Just get ready for transition like you've never seen. And we've seen that this past year. We've seen people leave, and we've seen people come. In fact, as we're looking at our numbers and evaluating where we were from last year, we're right about at the same. Maybe a bit more, I don't know, but we'll just say we're at the same, which is amazing, given all that's happened, because we've actually added people here, which is crazy. You think during COVID, how's that going to happen? But it did. And so we're still looking that around 720 people would be what you would call a regular attender or attendee here at Freshwater. The list of people who kind of are a part of it is way bigger, but that doesn't make as much of a difference to us as this number of who is committed to Freshwater. As we look over this past year and coming into where we are right now, we're seeing the children's ministry, actually we're busting at the seams, and we'll talk about that here in a second. The giving piece has been encouraging. Last year, with everything that went on and our aggressive budget over 2 years, we ended the year, obviously we didn't meet budget. Our spending was under control, so that we ended in the black at the end of the year. We didn't overspend our giving. But what we're seeing now coming in here by the end of the second month here is our giving is really strong. It is so encouraging. So that's one of the stories which to me it also proves that number, we're actually seeing a lot of health in terms of who has come in and those who are giving. The other thing, someone asked, hey, how is the benevolence going? Because we talked about that. We knew this last year would be possibly a difficult year. The giving here at Freshwater towards benevolence was the strongest year I've ever seen. We started the year around $23,700. We gave towards the benevolence as a church family an additional $51,000 approximately. And we distributed out to those in need around $33,000. And as of right now, with more giving coming in and where things are, we currently sit, I think we've given out around $3,000 or $4,000 this year. So our benevolence budget's around $43,000. And it's just encouraging the heart here of this church to take care of people. And so as we as a staff are looking at our end, we're thinking, with all that's gone on, we're looking pretty good. Our end is pretty solid. As we look at out, I don't know if you ever thought about this. Churches have cultures, and churches are known for different things. So if you think about the chapel with Newt Larson, they were known for things. If you think about Saddleback Church with Rick Warren, they're known for things, a purpose-driven life, and that evangelism push is so strong. Willow Creek that way. Our church has strengths and weaknesses. We're a church that's known for being focused and really strong in the up and the in. But we're not known as a church that is strong in the out. And this past year, we saw churches that were strong in the out. Their conversions, the number of people who came to the Lord, shot up. It was a year of a pandemic, and they had this culture and ability to just move right into people's lives, and they saw so many people come to the Lord. Freshwater was with a lot of churches, though, that saw a dramatic dip in conversions. We typically run around 40 right now, 45 people a year the last couple of years that have come to know the Lord. We dropped down to below 10 this year. Now, you can look at this and say, okay, well, let me explain a little bit of why. Freshwater, we're oriented towards events. And so when we came into last year, February, our Alpha was running 40 people. That wasn't 40 people including Freshwater Christians. That was 40 guests that were coming into Alpha. It was looking to be the best, I would say the best semester we had at Alpha yet in terms of the team involved and the number of people being invited. Once COVID hit, that just tanked. And for whatever reason, I don't understand it. It is what it is. I'm just going to say it. Freshwater working with Alpha on Zoom is not happening. It's just not working here in our culture. I don't know why. It's just not. And I'm not here to beat anybody up. It just is what it is. But also, when you look at this last year, we didn't get to do our VBS with Buell on the Road. We didn't get to do the Great Turkey Chase. We didn't get to do the Christmas Women's Gathering, which typically isn't a strong conversion like we see conversions at night, but it is a doorway of women coming and getting to know people, other women in our church, and it can be a gateway into our church. We also didn't get our Christmas Eve, which is also another gateway for people to come in. So if you look at all the events that we encourage and we do together, those got taken away. So I don't think it's that our heart wasn't there. COVID just impacted us. And so we're looking at that going, this last year wasn't a strong year. Our missions giving, if you read the annual report, was down. It's not because our heart changed. It's because our missions trips are part of the giving, if that makes sense. So when we send the youth group on a missions trip, that's part of our missions giving. When we send a team to Senegal, when we send a team to Germany. So that's why the giving went down there. It wasn't because people stopped giving and stopped caring for missions. It's just the missions piece of that, the trip side of it, was pulled down. And I think it was pulled down around 25,000, I think 25 or 30,000, if you're wondering what the actual number is. So this is where we are, and I want to speak onto one thing else, and then we're going to talk. We're going to start talking about where we're going, and I'm going to pull the staff up into this. I want to speak on one more thing of where we are. And the staff, we've been talking about this, and as a leadership team, even some of the elder conversations have gone towards this of where are we right now as a church? Mentally, the mental space, the emotional space. What are people thinking, and what does that mean here as we think about where we're going here in the short term? So we obviously have people gathering on Sunday morning. In fact, more people are starting to gather. Last Sunday, we hit the highest number. What were we, 400 and something? 425, which we've been hovering around 300, and then just bumped up. We hit about 320 for 3 or 4 weeks or 5 weeks, and then all of a sudden, 100 more people came last week. So people are feeling more comfortable about coming, starting to want to gather again. The trend is increasing. I'm not going to predict anything. I'm so tired of predicting. I'm done guessing what's going to happen. We still have, if you look at it or think about it, we still have around 40. If 720 people are committed to Freshwater and calling this church home, we still have around 40 on any given Sunday or a given week, 40 to 50% of people that are still hesitant to gather. Whether it's because of not wanting to be exposed to COVID, they're waiting for a vaccination or the herd immunity. They don't want to wear a mask. Or they see themselves really now as just part of the online church. There's a whole factor going in there. But that's still a part of where our church is, and we need to recognize that. And we also have this dynamic that's happened, and I think some of you probably resonate with this. We came into the spring, and we talk about this all the time. Everyone's overcommitted. I'm so overcommitted, right? That's a thing in our culture. What COVID did was clean the decks, and nobody had any shame. It was one of these moments where everything was taken away, and nobody was in trouble for it. And where people are now as we talk about this is people saw how unhealthy they were, and a lot of us were like, I don't know how to stop. How do I stop being overcommitted? How do I stop the rat race that I'm in on? So COVID allowed a really hard reset on commitment and what I'm involved in. And so where we are right now is people are careful. I mean, we all are careful because we don't want to go back to that. What we're also seeing as we look at the caution in that, we're also seeing trends of overcorrection, which we get, but people coming in and saying, look, I'll just do the online thing, but I won't engage. It's not about online, but it's not even engaging. It's not even engaging with the in. It's not even engaging with the out. It's a complete disengagement. Or some are saying, I'm out of the habit. I've gotten out of it. Whether it's being a part of Freshwater online or in person or serving, whatever that is, or in a community group, it's hard to get that habit going again. And some just are like, I'm done. I don't want to. Don't call me. I'll call you later. Much later. And we're seeing all these pieces. I think there's a broader culture. I don't know how much is Freshwater, but there's a broader culture of I don't know. We talk about being frustrated with church. There's a thing out there. It's real about people being frustrated with the church. The church gets lost in things that don't matter. The church gets on bandwagon things that really aren't rooted in Scripture. So why even come? There's that. I don't know necessarily if we're hearing that as necessarily at our church, but people would feel that at the broader culture. I think there's some we're sensing that since the church is shallow or hollow, doesn't have much to offer. Another one that's probably more is people just tired of seeing the church and the leaders fail morally. And the devastation that comes from church leaders, most recently, I think maybe many of us know Ravi Zacharias, and just the collateral damage that comes from that. So, before I bring the staff up, I just want to say this. As we pivot now to talk about where we're going And what we're thinking right now is we're not thinking long term, because right now we're looking at just the next 6 months, because we still feel like we have the fog of COVID, like we're still in the fog. We're starting to come out. It's dissipating. It's trending the right way, it seems. But as a staff, given that we still are wondering, how is everyone doing, and the 40% and where they are and connecting, and even those that are coming, we're still just trying to figure this out, and where is commitment and where is not commitment in all of this. And so we're not trying to start or launch anything big right now. The next 6 months is going to be steady. It's just going to be moving forward, keeping our eyes focused on the mission and the vision God's called us to, and living out the core values and the principles that he's given us. So as we look at the spring, we're just going to kind of do more of the same, just keep going. Obviously, when the summer comes, youth ministry does not slow down. It speeds up, and Pastor Lynn will talk about that in a second. Adult ministry is going to, we're going to miss Sean. Sean's got a 2.5-month sabbatical coming here in the summer. Yeah, you will not miss us. So he leaves in June, the first week of June, and he doesn't come back till mid-August, which is so great. And we're excited for him for that. Beth has the opportunity for a sabbatical, and she's trying to weigh out what that looks like. Is that the best way to say it? So with Beth gone, there's just pieces of, our main staff for 3 months is going to be out of pocket. And so that's another reason why we're not looking to hey, let's charge the hill here over the next 6 months. So Lynn, why don't you come up and just kind of give us just an idea of what you're going to see, where the youth ministry as a whole is going here over the next 6 months.
All right. Take this off. Good. It's a whole lot easier. Well, hey, thanks a lot for coming, and I don't know what camera I'm supposed to look at either, but those that are online. Which one? Okay, back right. There you go. It's great that you guys took some time to come out. Scott obviously asked me to take a couple of minutes just to look at the next 6 months regarding youth ministry. What in the world does this look like? So up here on the screen, here it is. These are the bullet points or the list. And I wanted to put it up there so you could see it. Maybe you could take a screenshot if you're at home. You take your cameras out, mental note, just kind of jot those down, because I would love for you to pray through these things with us over the next several months. So the first one on there is new hires. It's actually plural. You may not be familiar with the first one I'm going to talk about, but the first hire the youth ministry needs to make is a replacement hire. So the youth ministry assistant, we're currently actively going after and having discussions in that on the replacement there. Monique Hurley has done a great job filling in part-time, and Beth Falkenberg has been really gracious, actually sharing Monique with the youth ministry, children's ministry, youth ministry. So Monique's been giving us 12 to 13 hours a week, and this position is actually a 20 to 25 hours a week position. So we need to fill that one. The second one is another youth pastor. Now, I would really love for you guys to pray, not only pray for the right fit. This youth, it's strategic, it's intentional, and here's the deal. I don't want to blow this, and I know staff doesn't want to blow this. This is really, really important, this hire is, and we not only need somebody who has a calling to this and is qualified, but also fits with our church. Just like Scott was talking about cultures in that, churches have cultures where different people coming in fit differently with staff, with the youth ministry team that you have. And you can have somebody who's highly qualified and even called that isn't going to necessarily fit. So be praying for that, please, that right person comes forward, if you would. Also on that hire, you're going to hear a change maybe in terminology for me. Last time I was up here on the stage, I talked about hiring hiring a middle school pastor. I'm just going to call it, we're hiring another youth pastor. I don't know, God seems to be moving something inside of me, and I need you to join me in prayer in this too, to go, is this really God, or is this cockamamie idea that Len has, that he's just kind of following? And this is what I mean by that. We could go to the traditional setup to where another pastor comes in, you focus in on the 7th and 8th graders, I'll focus in on the 9th through 12th graders. I feel like God's going, okay, yes, you guys are going to lean one way or the other with the group, but there's this co-pastor type thought in my mind that when teens look, teens can go, there are my youth pastors, instead of going, oh, this is who I look up to with Beth, and then for 2 years I'm gonna have this person as a pastor, and then for 4 years I'm gonna have this person for a pastor, and then I get to downgrade and have Sean as a pastor. So, just kidding. He said he was gonna seriously miss me during sabbatical, and it was sarcasm. So that wasn't on my notes. That one's free. So anyway, hiring that and kind of moving in. So pray about that. Pray about the idea, like, what does that look like? And be praying that the right person comes in. The other thing that's up there is Reality 139. So Reality 139 is what we call our Sunday nights. And on Sunday nights, currently the series we're on, we're in a series called Filled. And in this series, we're taking a look at the Holy Spirit. What does it look like to be filled in the Spirit? What does it look like to walk in the Spirit? After that, we're going to go into a series that looks at spiritual gifts and wiring and personalities. What does God want to do with the way that he's created us, the way that he's gifted us? What does he want to do in us, through us, and for us? And then after that, if we stay with the plan, because God periodically disrupts the plan, he even did that this year with something we thought we were going to teach, Clint? We thought we were going to teach it, and God brought in another series and was awesome, because God knows that, and I don't. So it worked out really, really well. But the last one's going to be defending your faith. So if you guys would pray for Reality 139, specifically for this, we have this saying that when we start our Reality 139, it's the whole idea of, we hope in Reality 139 that your reality, teens, when they come through the door, their reality of who they are, right? Their identity, their meaning, their purpose, their reality of the world around them, how they see God, how they see other people. We hope that reality collides with God's reality, his truth. It collides with God, and then God does what only God can do. So if you could pray that that happens on a Sunday night, that as these teens come in and they're searching, or maybe they're not where they're supposed to be, or they're unsure and they are, that God confirms that up. Be praying for those nights that they have God encounters. Not just community and fellowship, not just some teaching, but actually encounter Christ in the midst of that. So that's Reality 139. On our calendar, there's two things. I'll speed this up. Two things that we're excited about. The one's called the Big Event right now. We're looking for another name. We're asking the teens to help us with this. We normally don't do an event like this in spring, but we weren't able to do the Great Turkey Chase this year. So we were like, what can we do here in the spring? So what we want is, right now, like I said, it's called the Big Event. We've got two goals in mind. The first goal is just to get as many teens as we can there and to have fun. Get them together with their friends, break them up into teams, hopefully in a large public space, and they go at it, for a while. Then after that, the second goal that we have is to share the gospel. But not just share the gospel to where we share the gospel, it's one and done, can you make a decision? It's sharing the gospel in a way that will jumpstart spiritual conversations between those that know Jesus and those that they brought that don't. So it's not just the whole idea of, here's the gospel, drop it. If you have any questions, come and see us. Hopefully that the teens get in, not only invite their friends that don't know Jesus, but then also can continue that conversation afterwards. So please be praying for that. That's going to be the end of April, 1st of May, depending on rain date and weather. Next one, OKC mission trip. We're going to Oklahoma City for a mission trip. This was an answered prayer. Number one, that we were able to make the decision to go. I know things are starting to change in the United States, so things are opening up. But when we were looking at this, we had this thought to say, look, we want to have a mission trip that would be open and throw the largest net to the largest number of teens that are willing to go regardless of their comfort level with COVID. So in order for that to happen, we needed to find a location that we could get there, probably with flying instead of being in a van together for anywhere from 8 to 12 to 15 hours, or a bus, so that we're able to fly there. Then when we get there, we don't have to get in a van to travel 2 or 3 hours to our ministry site. And then on top of that, there's a hospital close by, just in case. So
Why?
I might need it. That's probably why. So looking at that, and then so we went back to next steps, and this is how God works. We were supposed to go with next steps before. We went back to next steps, and here Oklahoma City has a week. We were looking for July. We needed a week that would be open for a larger group. Last year, we had over 50 people sign up for our mission trip. So that was a fairly large group. We had to find somebody that could house a larger group like that. And then all those other things. So we looked at Oklahoma City. July opened up. Here was the week that there was plenty of openings. Not only that, you fly in. The ministry site is 15 minutes away, and the hospital is 10 minutes away. So God just dropped that on our lap. We were so excited. Not to mention, when I watched the video, it brought tears to my eyes, because if you look at everything that's currently happening in the world, okay, specifically in the United States, and the ministries we have an opportunity to partner with, unbelievable. Unbelievable. So really, really excited about that. So leaders and teens, real quick on that. Leaders, I could never pull off what I've been able to pull off. And I know God does what God does. I get that. But he uses people. And I am so thankful that I have a group of people, a team of people that we were able to work alongside of one another. When COVID hit, they had their things they had to go through. It disrupted all of us. But even in their disruption, they stayed committed, they stayed engaged, they stayed flexible, and they stayed gracious as we were trying to lead through that. And they were engaging with teens, and sometimes more than teens, even the families, as they were going through certain things. So our team, if you know some of the people that were on the team, please thank them. Please thank them. It's just an incredible team that I work with. And then the other thing is teens, just pray for them. If you know anything about what's going on right now with teens, please pray for our teenagers. Lastly, I want to tell you just this quick story, because I think this just kind of shows you God just shows up again and does what God does. This was not even on our radar until mid-February. We didn't have this on the plan. So we took 25 teens to Whiteout. It was a weekend up at Beulah Beach. God sat on the group, not only our group, but other groups as well. And during one of the mixes, that's what they call the sessions, I'm sitting there, and God brings to my mind, dare to share the cause circle. And I'm like, okay, it wasn't one of those things where dare to share cause circle, I have to look it up because I have no idea what it is. I knew what that was. It's just something I haven't done much with for a long period of time. So I thought, okay, God, what does that mean? What do you want to do with that? So in our last debriefing session, I just threw it out to the teens. I said, hey, there's this thing called Dare to Share. It's a cause circle. You're going to hear more about this. I'm actually trying, this is personal, a little bit of transparency, I guess. I am trying to get more responsive to what I think the Holy Spirit wants to do and step into it before I have it all figured out. So that's what ended up happening. Beulah Beach, he gave me that opportunity and kind of that trial to go, let's see how you do. So he gives me that thing. I tell them, we come together, and Jake, it's already up there on the board or on the screen. So I get in front of the teens the last 2 Sunday nights, and I said, look, I go, what we're going to do is we are going to, I don't have it all figured out. I don't know the what, I don't know the when, all of that stuff. And teens, that's important for teens. Let me know when it's going to be, where it's going to be, and who's going to be there. Those 3 things usually have to be answered. But when God's moving in teens' hearts, that doesn't matter. So anyway, this is placed on my mind. I'm right down front, and I said, guys, I don't know what in the world this looks like. I don't even know when we're meeting, how we're meeting, but this is what I know. If you're interested in this, I want you to text this to me. Not a show of hands or anything. I want you to text this to me. This is what we're going to do. When we get together, we're going to talk about the cause circle. How do you pray? Prayer, care, and share. Not only are we going to do that, we're going to talk a little bit more about evangelism, but then we're going to go into, and we're going to ask questions to go, where are you on this circle right now with the friends that you want to reach? Then after that, we're actually going to pray for the teens that or your friends that you're going after. I got 16 texts. 16 texts. Now, for some, you might hear 16 and go, well, if you're currently, the average is about 65. We're running about 65 on a Sunday night. But 16 teenagers that didn't know who else was going to come, who I didn't explain everything to, but are still willing to go, I'm interested. Please let me know what we're doing, because I want to reach my friends, and I want to be held accountable, and I want to pray. Come on, people. Isn't that cool? It's cool. So that's God moving, and it's just cool. I love being a part of the youth ministry and being able to see some things that we plan that God shows up in, and things that God plans and he shows up in, and then we just get to adjust to it. Yeah.
Thanks. Thanks, Len. I talked to Jake, and I told Jake I didn't need him up here tonight. If you have watched Jake over the last 9 months, he has started a video ministry here at Freshwater. It's just crazy. I'd encourage you just to walk by the Star Trek Enterprise back there and see the console. It's pulled in a team of about 12 to 15 people. So Jake, we're not going to ask Jake to do anything new for 6 months. Just get ordained. He's got 3 months here, and his ordination written exam is like an all-day thing, and then he's got an oral exam thing, and so that's coming up. And so if you could be praying for Jake right now, or text Jake and say, hey, I'm praying for you, and then just ask him what hypostatic union means or some theological thing, so he should know what all that stuff is. So we gave him a free pass tonight, but his ministry obviously has been a huge gift to us this past 9 months. So he's not up here because he's not doing, did I just say that right? I gave him a free pass. I'll just leave it right there because I think I was going to say that all wrong and then it was going to be messed up. So Beth, can you come up and talk to us just what God's doing with the Gen Now Kids Ministry?
Free pass. Len, you said it. Yeah. Hi, how's everybody doing? Good to see you. I just want to highlight a few things about Gen Now Kids. What a year. Just saying. I mean, it's been crazy. Just trying to connect with the kids. It was really hard not being able to see the kids every week and just totally losing touch with them. When they came back to church, they were like all grown up. And I remember seeing them and thinking, what has happened to you? You're not a little kid anymore. So it was just a huge challenge to get through the first part of the pandemic. And then we started opening back up. And that was life-giving to all of us that love kids and want to serve. Just highlight a few things. Our Wednesday night did not miss a beat. It was just so exciting to me because we have GEMS Girls Club and we have Trail Life, which is, I mean, for lack of a better word, it's kind of like a Christian Boy Scouts, and they do manly things, and the boys love it. And we've been having over 60 kids every Wednesday night. And the coolest thing for me is we've talked a lot about the out. That's been a big thing, and I seriously prayed that we would have more of an outreach to the community with GEMS and Trail Life because it's a fun and it's safe, you know, it's just different. It doesn't really feel like church. And this year has been unbelievable. God has just answered the prayer just remarkably, which has been so exciting to be a part of. Honestly, we have so many kids in our GEMS program, so many of the girls that are not from our church. Some of them come from Christian homes. Some of them come from people that homes that don't go to church. And that has been just incredible. It's been so cool to see. Just like Len, I have a group of leaders on GEMS that are just a wonderful group of women. They pour into these girls, and I mean, it really fills them up. It's such a fun thing to watch. And I get the privilege to teach, which I love to teach. So for me, that's a gift. I get to teach the large group every week and share the gospel of Christ. And really, our theme is their identity is in Christ, and they are beautiful because they are a daughter of the King. And that has been the message all the way through. And it's been so beautiful to see the girls take that to heart and wear that with pride. You know, and as a mom and a grandma, it just touches my heart to see these girls understanding that. So that has been a blessing. Our Trail Life troop has been just incredible. We have new boys join our troop. Probably in the last 2 months, 3 months, we have probably had about one a week that come, sometimes two in a week that come and, oh, we heard about you. You know, oh yeah, I was talking to somebody in Medina and they said, have you ever heard of Trail Life at Freshwater in Wadsworth? It's amazing. And I just kind of go, oh my word, we're getting known. So it's exciting. It's exciting to be known, you know, and that's what our prayer was, to be known in the community. And we're being known in the outskirts of this community into Medina, and it's been so cool. And the neatest thing I've shared with the staff is the dads that come to Trail Life. I'm really involved in GEM, so I'm not able to be real involved with Trail Life, but I do sneak in once in a while and kind of sit in the back so I can watch. But we have a really strong group of leaders, of men. Some of them are older, some of them are young, have young families, and they just have so much fun with these boys. And basically their whole thing is connecting Christ to the boys' lives and to the world, and how you can live for God in this world. And they do things like they patch drywall. Andrew Canan taught them how to siphon gas. I don't know what they'd use that for. It's a little scary, but he did.
It's what every Christian needs to know.
I know, every Christian boy needs to know how to siphon gas.
Dude needs
right?
To know how to siphon
right, Len?
gas.
Don't they need to know that? So anyway, but yeah, and I mean,
yeah, we're getting these kid man cards.
We're getting them manly. But it has been, the boys love it, and they bring their friends, and then they hear about Jesus and what Jesus can do in their lives, how he can fix them. There's a lot of fixing going on in Trail Life. But it is so remarkable. And I go in there, and I walk by, and I see these dads that I don't even know them. They don't go to our church. They're from the community. I know some of them are not believers. Some of them are. And I see them sitting together in a circle talking and just being together and being with their sons and having fun and doing things that boys like to do. I got to tell you, it's just it brings me joy, and it's just such an awesome thing to be a part of and to be leading. And the guys that are on that team, they're fun. I mean, they're just really fun to work with, and they're go-getters, and I just kind of go for it, you know, and it's just been so exciting. So that to me that has been a huge blessing to the ministry this year, and I'm so grateful to God and for how he has blessed that. All right, here's the story about Sunday mornings. It's totally changed since I wrote this annual report. We were averaging about 32 kids. You know, first it was like 15 and then 25, and then we were getting 32, and I was like, yes, 32 kids, this is awesome. And it was so fun because I was getting to see all these kids that have grown 10 feet since the last time I saw them, and they were coming, and it was just so neat to be a part of, being able to be part of their lives again, investing in them. And then all of a sudden, 1 week, we had 60 kids. We went from 30 kids to 60 kids in 1 week. And in 1 week, we had 4 new families visit our church. And they had a lot of kids between them, just saying. There's a big group of kids. And they have all been back at least 2 or 3 weeks, some of them 4 weeks in a row. People that have never been here before. Bringing friends. And I just found out that one of the families, they're coming all the way from Cuyahoga Falls, which is just like, wow, that is so cool. But God is bringing these people and their beautiful children into our ministry. And I just sit there going, what is happening? This is just so incredible. But here's the situation. We have 60 kids. Last Sunday, we had 66 kids. And we only have kids ministry for 1 service. Now, that's a problem. And I just really want us to be able to go back to 2 services. But we need people that can serve and help with Sunday morning. We actually need about, we need about 30 more adults to be able to open up a second service of children's ministry. So that's what I want you to pray about. I want you to pray that people will be willing to do that. And I have a group of teachers that have come back, have a bunch of nursery and toddler workers that have come back. Sacrificial servanthood, that's what we're calling it, because it's a sacrifice. And they have come back, and they have been the only reason, and God, to be able to continue what we've done and to start growing again. But we need more people. And, you know, that's kind of where it is. So I'm just going to ask you to pray about that. I'm trusting God. I have total confidence in him because he wants this more than I do. I mean, this is his ministry. This is his church. We are his people. He loves these kids. He wants them to come to him. And I have total confidence in that, and I rest in that assurance because I know that he's just allowing me and allowing Monique to be a part of this and watching him work. And it's just what an experience. And teaching kids is just fun. I mean, you just never know what they're going to say. They're crazy, they're fun, and we just want them to feel the love of the people in the church and then the love of Jesus and the truth from his word. So that's kind of where we are. Right now, we're actually blowing up in our first service. I mean, we really actually have too many kids. We've actually had to move one of the classes to all of 102 because it's too big. We can't have enough because we're still doing social distancing, 3 feet, wearing masks and things like that. So anyway, that's a huge prayer, and I would really appreciate to pray for that. Nursery and toddler as well. We have a group that have come back, and like I said, I'm just so grateful for the people that have come back and started serving again in kids ministry. Let's see, I wanted to tell you one more thing. This is really exciting too. It's so cool how God works, because like during this COVID, it's just been such a trial. But during this whole time, I've just felt God's presence really close. And I just always felt like something's going to happen. He's working. He's changing people's hearts. And I totally had confidence in that. And just, it was such a secure feeling for me to know that he's in control. I don't need to worry about this. And I've had a vision and dream I've shared with the staff of, I would love to have a young mothers group and a cafe with coffee and an indoor play park. I mean, I'm dreaming, but I would love to do something like that, and just where young moms can come, bring their children, and they can fellowship, they can talk together, pray together, kids can play, that kind of thing. And so we actually had a mom's group, but during COVID, it didn't meet anymore because of COVID. So we've started that up again. Our first week, we had 8 moms and 8 kids, and these are all preschoolers. And we have story time, and then they sing songs, and then we have games, and they play. And it's just really sweet, and they're all little. I mean, they're all 3 and under, 4 and under. So that was our first week. And then today we had our second week, and we had 14 kids and 14 moms. And that was our second week. And there were women there. Most of the women that are coming are from the community, and they're invited by the women of our church. Now, amen. Thank you, Greg, because that is an amen. That's just incredible. And I looked around. I'm like, who's that? Who's that? Oh, so-and-so invited her. Oh, yeah, she's from this. She met at swimming lessons. And I'm just like, this is so wonderful. God is moving. And so I just am praising him, because even though it's been a crazy year, there is so much to praise him about, because he has been so faithful, and he is moving, and he is causing things to happen that, like Scott said, we don't plan for, because we don't know what's going to happen, but he is still on the throne, and he is still in control, and he loves these little children, and he wants them to come to him. So that's kind of where I'm at. I love my job. I love the kids, and it's such a blessing to be able to lead this ministry, and I'm just excited to see where God takes us in 2021. So thank you.
Thanks, Beth. You can hand that off to Sean.
Oh, Sean. Oh, I don't think Sean's coming.
Yeah, Sean's coming up. Just a sec, though. This thing keeps resetting on me. One of the things I just want to mention, just want to come back to this idea of where we are, the gap, this whole COVID thing and what it's done, just in terms of the children's ministry. It's just like everybody's adapting, everybody's still catching up to speed, and so there's just no way to predict like what's going to happen, and we didn't know, we'd see this bump like this so quickly, and so we're behind the curve, obviously, and we do want to see the first service begin to start up our children's ministry. And one of our operating principles, it's up on the screen, is this. One of the things that we will do at Freshwater, it's the we wills, right? We will call people to a lifestyle of sacrificial service through love and obedience, not volunteerism. We're not going to use that word, volunteer. It just diminishes what Christ is doing. It's not about volunteering. It's about serving the Lord. We will regularly champion serving as a critical component of being a Christ follower and being in a church family. We will help people know and use their spiritual gift for building God's kingdom, and we will value people over production. So the children's ministry is lagging behind and giving given where we all are, the reality is the church right now, we're not able to function according to what God is doing and what who He's bringing in. And we just want to bring this need before you. And I just want to just ask you, I know if you've had the break and you've been serving, you're like, man, it has been so nice, and not sacrificing, right? Not pouring myself out, not giving up time. And we understand those things. And one of the pieces of this and why it's so important to us is this is not a program. This is part of our mission. God has called us into the family of God. It's part of our vision statement. We are a church that makes disciples who make disciples, in which the presence of God flows through them into this world. That's the vision of our church. Sunday morning and what happens over there is our vision, where we have disciples making disciples. It's part of our operating principles, the we wills of our church that say this: we will be discipled, we will be disciple makers, we will teach, model, and create environments where disciples are making disciples, we will lead people in the pathway from conversion to glory. That's what we're doing over there on Sunday morning. So if you think it's about volunteering, you've got it wrong. This is tied to the very fabric and the vision and the mission that God has given us. And that's why we have no qualms about saying, hey, would you really pray? And is God calling you to sacrifice and serve? Because we see disciples being made there every week. It's slow sometimes. It's hidden sometimes. It's messy sometimes, especially if you're in the nursery. But would you consider that? Would you talk to others about that? Those of you online listening in too, we just encourage you to join with us as we look at this. And the other thing I just want to mention before, Sean, I have you come up, is this is answered prayer. Having families here is part of answered prayer. We talk about being culturally relevant. That's one of the we wills. We want to be a church that's culturally relevant, where families are drawn in. This is answered prayer. God, bring families in, bring moms and dads in, bring kids in. And so it's part of the vision of our church is to see this happen. So we're looking to see God start this back up the Sunday morning first service time. So as we look forward in the next 6 months, in terms of out, I invited Sean to come up and just speak into this about what does this look like with up, in, and out, and specifically with out as we try to balance this and correct what we're seeing.
I'm going to take 1 minute here real quick. One, I just want to reiterate and thank especially our community groups. There was that period of time where we needed to care for people and care for people quickly. And I'm so thankful for those of you who stepped up and helped with that, making calls, checking in on people. Gosh, it was just so refreshing to see. So thank you. Thank you. This is our core family here online, people watching. You were the ones who stepped in and did that. And it wasn't just the community groups, it was the body doing that. And I'm so thankful for that. And this may sound a little bit like banging our own drum. This was a little off script. I took a little bit of a new role 2 weeks before COVID started, where I was kind of overseeing the vision and goals of our staff and implementing that in our staff meetings. And I want to say this because I don't think they'll say it. I am so proud of our staff. Guys, none of them signed up for this. None of us signed up for this. This was hard. And everybody had things to battle. You had things to battle at home, jobs, school, your kids, hurt, all those sickness. The staff dealt with that too, while also running alongside a pretty big flock. And I am so proud of them. I get choked up thinking about how much they gave, how many times we sat in the room that's right past that wall right there and just stared at each other, sometimes for hours, not having clear answers because there weren't any. but still they were faithful. And now you're watching them up here. We're now 2 weeks from doing that a year ago. And I want you to see the joy that God brought them through all of this. He pushed us all to our knees. We prayed hard. We trusted him. We had you to lock arms with. But I'm so thankful for them. And they do a lot of stuff behind the scenes. Even though, Len made fun of me in my sabbatical, I still love him dearly. But they did what God called them to do. And I'm so proud of that. So let me get into this out, because this is a great segue into that. In this process of this year, and honestly, even before COVID hit, we already knew that our out, let's call it evangelism for a second, and then we're going to move it into what I think it really is. But we talked a lot about evangelism and how we needed to push into it. And we did. We were relying on some programs. Scott already walked through that, and they were great. And he was faithful in that. Our church was faithful in participating in that. Like Scott said, Alpha was booming, and we were really leaning into that. But we recognized pre-COVID that we needed to work into this. And over this last year, we realized that our outs, our disciple making, because that's what it really is, it's disciples making disciples, was lacking. And we need to push into that, and we need to walk that road as a whole church. We need to ingrain it in us as part of our DNA, not just in the programs we do, not just relying on events or for Alpha, but how we as a church and a body of believers go beyond these walls sharing Jesus. And so over this next 6 months, you're going to hear that language. We're going to teach that way. We're going to talk about things that we can give you and you can do. We're going to talk about things that we'll do here at the church. Alpha will be part of that, but it won't be the only part. That we need to start thinking beyond ourselves, the up and the in, and start really moving into the out. Now, there's a danger in that. I recognize that some folks will go, wow, well, are we going to ignore the up and the in? No, but I want you to think about it this way. If you had a surgery, I've had multiple knee surgeries, and after those surgeries, I've had to have therapy on that knee. It didn't mean the other knee was any less important, but that knee needed help and focus. It needed to be healed, and we needed to move into that. And so we as a church, and this is birth all the way up, we are going to be conscious of it and moving into it and calling you alongside. How can we better reach? Think of it this way, because I think this is where people get stuck, and this is why I've moved away from the word evangelism as the main focus and into disciple making. I think people look at things like Romans and Corinthians and Ephesians when we go through the spiritual gifts, and they see the spiritual gift of evangelism, and you probably were appropriately taught that all of the spiritual gifts are equally available, but they're not equally given. Remember, the spiritual gifts are given by the Spirit. So you probably have said to yourself, well, I don't have that spiritual gift. It doesn't matter. Let me be very clear with you. So that spiritual gift is that supernatural bump up. Go back to Matthew 28. He called all of us to do it. He called every one of us to go make disciples of all nations. So we've got to be about that. If you get the spiritual gift of evangelism, amen. Come tell us. We're going to love on you and walk with you, and we're going to go after people, but we're all called to be disciple makers. And I want you to think of this. In Mark 2, Jesus has this moment in time where 4 friends bring their paralytic friend to see Jesus. They lower him through the ceiling, and there's something amazing that happens to that. Jesus says this, or it's not says this is what he does. It says, seeing their faith, he said to the paralytic, be forgiven, stand up and walk. Seeing their faith, he saw them bringing someone before him. Guys, this is about us working together. This is about being in faith towards our Savior and bringing people to him. He does the rest, but seeing their faith, he forgave him, healed him, made him whole. You can be a part of that. And so we're going to be pushing into this. We're going to be moving into a place where where disciple making, well, we've read it multiple times. We've read it twice now. That we will be discipled and we will be disciple makers. As a team, as leaders in our church, we're going to be living into that a lot. And you're going to hear a lot of it. We're going to give this some therapy, some physical therapy moving forward. So we're hoping that you guys will pray about that. How will you jump in? How will you be incarnational? We started the book of John talking about Jesus being incarnational. He came and set up his tent in the village so that he could be with the people that he needed to save. How are we going to do that as a church? So be in prayer on that. Think about how you jump into that. If you want to explore some spiritual gifts, because all your spiritual gifts can be used for outreach and disciple making, talk to us. We want to head that road with you.
Thanks. Thanks, Sean. You look like a guy that's going on sabbatical.
Yeehaw! I am looking forward to it.
All right. Here's a little, we want to just pivot here and just say, hey, as we look where we are and where we're going here, is there not really looking back on where we've been, but just, as we're looking forward here over the next 6 months and maybe some of the things you've just heard here, do you have questions as we're talking here? Is there any interaction? We're just looking for interaction if there is any, because we want to start this whole idea of refresh back up and hearing from you guys, and then spending actually some time in prayer. But you don't have to have questions, but if there's any questions you want to throw my way or one of the staff here, we'd love to at least open the floor to that. So Lynn's got his mic. He's ready. All right. So here's what we'd like you to do here over the next maybe 10, 15 minutes is, as comfortable as you are, if you could get with some other people and just pray, because this is where the work starts, is in prayer. And as we look forward to these next 6 months, we are going to talk about the out a lot, and it's going to feel like, oh, you're talking about it so much, but we're trying to steer back and get us back into a place that's healthy. And it's going to feel more than what we talk about other things, but we're a church that's strong in discipleship, or the in, as it were, and we're strong in the up. So we believe that we can emphasize this for a season here, and Lord willing. Part of what happened, I just remember years ago when we first came here, the church had years where there was nobody coming to the Lord. It was like 2 years or 3 years spread out over about a 5-year period, a 6-year period. And so back then the church said, never again. Never again. Not on our watch. And even when there was no pastor on staff, this church just said, we are not going to be a kind of church that forgets the lost. And they just started doing it and started leading people to the Lord. And that's the DNA of our church. And so that's where this comes out of, is the heartbeat of, we will not forget this world. And we must move towards them. So if you could just spend some time praying with each other, and that's really how we're going to end, is just prayer. And when you sense your time of prayer is done, that's great. I want to say thank you for coming here tonight, joining in online, family, all you guys online. Really appreciate you guys participating and your involvement as well. It's a new day, how we're doing everything. So, but let's just spend some time praying.